Guys, welcome to the Tyler Fischer Show. I'm here with Matt Walsh, the star of Am I Racist? Hey, Matt, how are you?
Doing well, man. Thanks for having me.
I'm doing good. Yeah, of course. Just wanted to be precautious. And as we know, racism does spread like COVID. But can you confirm whether or not somebody can catch racism in person or even through a computer?
Well, you catch it from, unfortunately, it's worse than that because you catch it from birth, really I think from conception. Maybe there's some argument among the anti-racists on that, but it's living inside you. It's bubbling inside you. If you're a white person, if you're not white, then you're impervious to it. You got nothing to worry about. But unfortunately, you're pretty white.
Anything but white.
Yeah, anything but white. Yeah.
What about if you're like I'm about 3 inches away from being a legal dwarf or little person. Now, if I'm lower down, is there less risk of catching it? Let's say because I'm at a pretty low, almost a genital level perspective. Yeah, do you have to really be up close in person with somebody eye to eye?
I don't know if being short will get you out of it, but the good news is that you're on the cusp of being able to claim residence in another victim category. And so that actually does potentially help you. It's a very complicated equation, but...
All right. I'm glad you're backing up because you're kind of doing that J.D. Vance sort of toxic masculine beard thing where I can tell you're almost putting a spell on me. But I'm going to take a risk today, and I'm going to do what I've never done on my podcast. I'm going to lower the mask, and I'm going to trust that we're going to have an equitable conversation. Is that can we have a deal on that?
I appreciate your trust and I think that's a sign of good faith, and I do appreciate that.
Absolutely. Unbelievable. So I just want to say congratulations first on the film. I was at the movie premiere.
Let's be clear what's happening in this country. It's Nazism. Republicans are Nazis.
Am I racist?
I would really appreciate it if you left.
I'm trying to learn. I'm on this journey.
Can you please leave?
Am I the first person to interview who was in the movie but was cut out of the movie? Is this the first?
Yes. Yeah. Although there's so much out. There's like 5 other movies that contained. There's like 5 other movies with the raw footage we have. We have a whole series on this where there's so much footage that's not in this movie that didn't make it in.
So I'm going to try to get a clip that I'll put in here. I didn't have access to it, but essentially I played a merman or a mer person because we didn't feel comfortable gendering the mer person. And I protested you at Berkeley University when you were giving a speech. And I was mixed in with the protesters saying, Matt doesn't respect my pronouns, my C gender and all this stuff. And all of the students didn't even question it. It was just kind of normal. But then somebody spotted the camera and then they all started yelling, actor, actor, actor. So I think it's pretty funny. I'll try to get the clip and put it up. That's is there anything else that you cut out that you're just like, man, that was so funny. I wish it was in the film.
Yeah, that in particular, that scene you're talking about, that to people listening with no context, it must be so deeply confusing. But that's an interesting behind the scenes thing. I don't think I've talked about yet that, we and I think there's no reason why I can't reveal this, that
sure.
Our initial, so when we came up with this idea for the film, this was back right after What Is Woman came out. So this is 2 years ago. And it was around that time when we were talking about this movie, it was around that time that I happened to get into a big public controversy where I was being accused of being a racist because I said that a mermaid can't be black because,
that's right.
Because mermaids would actually be translucent if they're living deep in the water where there's no light penetration. So technically, scientifically, you couldn't have a black mermaid like they made the Little Mermaid and they made her black. And I was saying, so there's this whole big controversy around that. It was one of the dumbest controversies I've ever been involved in. And so we had this idea for a while that it would be funny to make that like the start of my anti-racist journey. What if I'm so troubled by being accused of being racist against mermaids that this is what starts me on the journey? And so that's part of the sequence we shot. It was like, okay, well, so it's a little bit of a blended reality thing we were going for. But then it took so long to film the rest of it by the time we got to the end, it's like that whole mermaid controversy was so far in the past that it just didn't work anymore.
It's too bad. It's too bad I wasn't at least on your level of fame or higher, because I made a joke that a black mermaid wouldn't get her hair wet, but not enough. So I feel like
that's good.
The scandal should have been on me. I would have taken it for you on the nose as a professional comedian.
Also, a black mermaid wouldn't be able to swim. So
wouldn't be able. Whoa. Okay. All right. That's enough, guys. But I think I'm a good testament to how much people should see the film. The fact that, I'm an actor. There's an ego, of course. But I went to the premiere on my own dime and I watched the film knowing I was cut out of it. And that would have been the first movie I was ever in the theaters. And I sat and I watched it. I didn't even think about me being in it or not being in it. I laughed literally from the start to the end. And the flow of the movie is so wonderful. Right when you go, oh man, I wonder if it's going to end here. It shouldn't end here. The Robin DiAngelo moment. I thought it was going to cut to black, but then you had the brilliant scene where you brought everybody in to play along with your DEI stuff. I don't think people realize how hard it is to go into that scenario without a script. And do you realize like the kind of God-given talent you have for something like that? Because you stayed so straight that it's people actually bought it. Is that something that you knew you were going to be able to pull off, or when you're in the moment just going, oh, I'm actually pretty good at this?
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. I guess it's one of those things that's hard to know if you can do that until you do it. There's not a lot of analogs in life where you could say, well, I was able to do this over here, so that'll probably translate. So it is one of those jump into the deep end. Now, the advantage I had was our first movie, What Is a Woman, had elements. Obviously it's unscripted, it's a documentary, and there were elements of What Is a Woman that you can find. And it's kind of like we took the What Is a Woman style and we just ramped it up. But for me, it was a little bit. It was a kind of gradual. It wasn't jumping right into the deep end. It was a gradual build. And in fact, I could even say that interesting thing about What Is a Woman behind the scenes detail there is that one of our original concepts for What Is a Woman was to do basically what we ended up doing with Air, which is that rather than me being skeptical the whole time when I'm asking these questions about what is a woman, one of our original concepts is that I would start by talking to someone. First person I talked to in that film is a therapist, a woke therapist, a gender-affirming therapist. And we thought, okay, well, what if I believe everything she says, and then I actually start to believe that I might be trans? Because you see that in that first scene. We have this conversation. And originally thought we would just build from that. And like I would actually I'd kind of get sucked into to gender ideology as we go along. Now that movie didn't end up working out that way.
Well, now I want to see that. I want to see you walking around trans.
Yeah, well, but that was another thing is like I also said early on, I'm not doing any cross-dressing for that. Like, so we're gonna have to find a way. We thought but that would actually make it funnier if, let's say, next I go to some kind of women's only thing, but I'm just dressed completely as myself. I don't make any attempt to change how I look. But anyway, we didn't end up doing that for a whole bunch of reasons, and mainly that we decided it wasn't the best way to explore that particular issue. And then for this movie, we thought, well, now this is an occasion to do it that way. So there was a kind of gradual working into it.
Well, that's what's great about just committing to something is you're not looking for this like instant hit. You grow over time and you have all these ideas and you go, oh, now we can pull that idea. I actually got my start. There's an interesting tie-in. I mean, first of all, I was fired from an acting agent for being white, and they told me in the email, and they literally just wrote, tough out there for white dudes.
Being a white, straight, cisgender man, it's the top of the pile.
I'm on the top of the pile. That's me.
There's a fella in New York who was suing someone because he didn't get hired because he was white.
Oh, Tyler Fischer. I know him.
Really?
Yeah, I know. He's a funny dude.
Comedian Tyler Fischer claims he has been turned down by 3 agencies because they said they just weren't looking for white men. He recorded the call with an Asian. He claims turned him down for being white. So let's listen to the call.
Is it a policy, like, explicit that they're not taking on any, like, white men, or is it, like, case by case?
On-camera talent.
So this movie for me, as much as I'm a comedian and find things funny, was unbelievably therapeutic. But because I kept getting fired, I went out and started making my own undercover videos. And if you put on a simple costume or not, I did glasses, but I want to show you right now. I once pretended I would go to Apple, Whole Foods, all these places. I would put on a vest or a uniform I'd get on Amazon, and I would work there for a full day, and I filmed it. So I'll show you. This is years ago.
Just want to let you know the tuna fish today is local. It was caught in the East River. Actually, we do harvest these in the broom closet. That's as local as you can get. We used some homosexual cows for this batch.
Really?
And these were all grown in Malaysia. They were harvested by 100% grass-fed Malaysian children. It's made from 100% certified lesbian couples in northern Maine.
Oh, wow.
So we're doing equal opportunity stuff. We're certified upper middle class now, too, so.
Where is the ketchup?
Ketchup? Come on, ketchup! Ketchup!
So this went on for probably 7 hours or so.
So you just walked in and they just accepted you as an employee. Is that what happened?
Yeah, not only that, I worked at 4 different Whole Foods in Manhattan and 4 different Apple stores. And and so it's just funny because I couldn't get work because I was a white guy, and so this is what I did. I just went and pretended to be all these woke people, and they accepted everything at face value. I even pretended to be a jockey at one of the major races in New York. And just wore the jockey uniform and went and did the whole press kit, did all the press interviews.
And, you didn't ride the horse, I assume.
I didn't ride. I couldn't, but I almost got into the stable.
That's amazing. That is amazing. It's amazing.
I think this is the way to do it. I know you got a little bit of pushback, which who cares about, doing this undercover. But the key is getting people, when they're vulnerable, when they don't know that they're on camera, because then they'll tell you exactly who they are. And
well, and also as you obviously discovered as well, as long as they believe, like especially on the left, they're very, very guarded and cautious if they get the sense that you're at all skeptical about them, or if you're going to challenge them. If they get the sense that they're about to be intellectually challenged. Then you get a very different reaction.
What is a woman? There's no better example of that, because anytime you even came close to pressing them, you could just see their guard come up, and they're going, well, this isn't a safe space all of a sudden. So it is interesting that the open, compassionate, tolerant people are the most incapable of having any amount of debate or discussion.
Yeah, there's and with that movie, there was always because I'd start the interview by asking a bunch of really just puff questions that had fluff questions that had no meaning. I wasn't challenging them. I was agreeing with everything. I was being very friendly, and then you could always see that there's whenever I felt that it was primed and I could ask a challenging question, I'd pepper it in there, and you could always see almost in their eyes, you could see a switch. Like, wait a second. Something's not right here. The moment that they detect the hint of skepticism, everything changes. But the advantage there is if you never challenge at all and you make it clear that you're a safe space for them, then they'll go along with anything because they feel, they feel like they're in a safe place.
And they love to talk, so you just let them go. I haven't really gone public with this yet, so I won't say much about it, but I was banned from a major airline for not going along with their sort of woke DEI stuff and the virtue signaling. I just made a joke about it.
Mr. Fischer, this is Jesse with Delta Airlines. I am just giving you a call regarding an incident that occurred following one of our recent flights. You have been placed on Delta's permanent no-fly list, and your upcoming travel on August 11th has been canceled.
Holy shit.
But the next step is calling them. They want to have a important talk with me. So I'm going to call the airline, and I assume they're going to do some sort of, shaming like they would do in one of those meetings that you were in Am I Racist? And I'm just going to ask them a ton of questions and get them to talk as much as humanly possible.
Is this an airline that you were a customer of the airline?
Yeah. It's an airline I ride all the time. And I'm now, for the rest of my life, not allowed to step on board because I challenged or joked about their sort of woke inclusive virtue signaling, which, that this person was allowed to express themselves and I wasn't allowed to express how I felt about it. So, more to come on that. But I think the tentacles of this has infected every corner of every part of this country. So aside from making the movie, I mean, I have a lawsuit in the Supreme Court. I think. Do you feel that the tidal wave has hit the wall and is actually coming back? It almost feels like the exposing of what you exposed in this movie and the amount of people that are going to see it is evident. The fact that it's in the movie theater, I still am blown away that they took this in the theater. But it's all good news. And I think if we all stay positive and just keep making stuff like this and keep fighting it, do you see this actually ending? The whole DEI thing?
I think the DEI thing ends. Yeah, I think it's ending relatively rapidly. The question is whether they just rebrand it and call it something else, which I think will happen. So in the left, they're very good at that. They're very good at euphemisms and changing the names of things to make it seem like they've changed the thing when really they haven't. They just changed the name. So I think that will happen. But the underlying ideology, the kind of left-wing racial ideology, that's not going to disappear. That's going to be there. So the fight continues. But I do think that we're making a lot of progress culturally. I mean, the good kind of progress in the fight against this stuff, and making fun of it, mockery. That's not the only weapon to use, but it is a really important weapon and one that conservatives, at least in recent history, have not used very effectively. But I think that's starting to change too. And look, the left has known this for a long time. They've known the power of mockery and satire. They used to be really good at it.
Sure.
They used to use this strategy. Even, I mean, you look at the way that the left used to attack even Republican presidents. Go back to Bush, for example. And they would their approach was to just make a joke out of that person, to mock them relentlessly until they're a joke. And then Trump comes along and they kind of switch up. They actually go to the opposite extreme, where now this person isn't a joke; they are a threat to mankind. And now they go the way of kind of taking their opponents too seriously, if anything. But
look at what they did with Bush. I mean, it's like, it was the people that didn't like him, but they just made a joke about it.
Right. They made him
he would make up words. Strategery. And they're just like, wow, this guy's an idiot. But well, hey man, it's Friday. I want you to go enjoy time with your family. Thank you for joining me, and everybody go see Am I Racist? Keep it up, and I'm sure I'll see you at the next premiere.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Thank you, buddy.